Hey, welcome to the channel. Every Wednesday, 5 p.m. Central Standard Time, we host Twitter Spaces with the special guest. This week we had Crypto Professor Girl. Emphasis on the word professor. She provides insight on cryptocurrency, drip, competition, and how we can encourage more women to get involved in crypto and more specifically, DeFi. This one is a good one. In the meantime, I wish everybody peace and prosperity. Until then, stay hydrated. Enjoy. CBG, you still there?
Yes, I am.
Okay, perfect. So let's do this. Because I've got a good history of running long because I enjoy having conversations with people that are talking about cryptocurrency and DeFi. Like, I enjoy having these conversations because in real life, there's not a lot of people that I could talk to about this stuff. They
Mm,
are simply bored to tears, or in their mind, it's just too complicated for them to kind of dig into. But for us, and you're probably the same way, like once I was finally introduced to crypto, I'm not talking about like these conversations that I have off the cuff, maybe in a bar with a couple of spirits behind me, and someone brings up cryptocurrency, and the first thing I think about is like Bitcoin, and I kind of shrug it off as some type of niche. But like literally, someone sitting me down, spending a weekend with me, and helping me understand cryptocurrency, DeFi, the difference between centralized exchanges and decentralized exchanges. Like
hmm
once I really wrapped my head around that, I became obsessed with it, literally, where I would spend anywhere between 4 and 6 hours a day watching YouTube videos, reading Medium articles. So,
Yeah,
because of
it's
all of that,
addictive.
right, we've got so much knowledge, and somebody else
It's
who doesn't even spend a fraction of that time in crypto, they don't want to talk about that stuff because they don't
yeah,
understand it like we do. Yeah. So,
yeah,
I'm excited about our conversation. Yes, I am.
absolutely.
So let's do this because the point of me saying it is I always run long because we talk
Okay.
about crypto and I could talk about it forever. Like me and Drip Coach, we were talking for 2.5 hours and I had to pump the brakes. I was like, my goodness, my friend, we've been going for 2.5 hours. We probably should let people eat their dinner and go home, right? So, so let's do this. All right. So the way
hmm
that I tend to roll it out is very similar to the way that you've started your Women in DeFi YouTube videos. And it's really just allowing the guest speaker an opportunity to introduce themselves, right? So
hmm
what I wanted to ask you really quickly, are you a professor by trade?
Yes, for real.
Hey, see? So let's start there. Let's start there. You're a professor of what?
Well, let's just say that I'm a behavioral scientist. So I study attitudes. I study attitudes that people have toward a variety of social groups and social topics. And I use
Interesting.
quantitative approach to analyze those attitudes.
Interesting. Is that something you went to school for? Like you were in high school and said, this is what I want to do for the rest of my life? Or did you actually
Yeah,
kind of fall into it?
yeah. I think I've been kind of always fascinated with psychology and human behavior in groups in the presence of either real or imaginary others.
Yeah.
Um, I think I was like maybe 15 or so. Then I decided that I want to study behavior. So, yeah, the answer is yes.
Man, that's so impressive because you've got people that are over 40 years old and still don't know what they want to do with the rest of their life. And, and you figured that out at 15. That's so impressive. Like, is there history in your family of people
No,
in psychology education?
no. I'm the first one. I'm the first one.
That's
Like
okay.
crypto,
Someone's got to
I'm
break the
the first
record.
one too. So
Say it again, CPG.
yeah, I was saying like in crypto, I'm the first one too. So I chose career that nobody really in my family pursued before, and
Yeah.
in crypto the same story. I was the first one out of everybody. So I'm kind of, I just I love innovation and technology and STEM, and that's how I got into crypto. I saw this as the future,
Yeah.
essentially. I'm just
So did you walk into it or did someone help guide you through it? Like for me, it took someone very close. It was my nephew who at the time was maybe 21. He
oh,
helped me understand it, right? Because I was naive to it. I was not at all interested with it. My background is in finance. So everything that we do is considered risk adverse, right? So our job is to try to mitigate risk as possible. And when we think about cryptocurrency, not all of them, but most of them are very high risk type of asset classes. So for me, it was taboo to even have the conversation or even consider investing. So it
okay.
took for someone outside of my own personal knowledge and experience to really introduce crypto to me. So, did you do that on your own because you were eager to understand what this technology was because of your passion, or did
Yes,
someone help introduce you to it? Got it. Got it. Got it.
I did it on my own. So I did not have any family or friends into crypto,
Yeah.
but I was kind of interested in financial markets in general, and kind of was a retail investor. I guess it was just, I guess, my hobby, or well, just at some point, my partner and I, we decided that we could do better than people like yourself, like financial advisors, even though we
Yeah.
still have.
You can do better
Sorry.
than me. What are you talking about? I love it. That's good. That's good. But you're
Yeah,
right. You're
yeah,
right.
but you guys are very conservative.
A
I mean,
thousand percent.
yeah, you just said that yourself. So at some point, I decided that maybe I can learn and manage some of our finances. So I started in 2017 with options trade.
Okay.
So I
Ooh, now
was,
that's complicated. Okay.
yeah, so I was selling puts mainly, and then
Mm-hmm.
we got into a little bit of the day trading. I wouldn't say that we're successful. In fact, I think we had losses in that.
Yeah.
Um, and was just kind of, I think I was somewhat like brutalized by not so successful options trading and maybe not
Yeah.
successful day trading. And I actually learned about Bitcoin in 2017.
Okay.
2017 was the first time I heard about it, and I subscribed to a newsletter. And so we paid subscriptions for this newsletter. I'm not going to name it. I'm not promoting it. I'm not subscribing anymore. But so that newsletter kind of introduced me into just buying and holding certain cryptocurrencies. So in
Mm-hmm.
17, I by the way I got it. I got in that I would say November December of 2017. So that's when actually the crypto market was at all-time high, like December
Okay.
20. I think Bitcoin was around like 20,000.
Okay.
So I kind of started buying, just buying and holding, and I started with Bitcoin, and then I learned about other currencies as well, and I started buying like Ether, and I bought a whole bunch of BNBs and some other ones. So I was just buying, and I so bought a lot of it and just kind of like sat on it and didn't really do anything. So I didn't do any type of trading or anything like that. But I learned through the same newsletter in 20 in the beginning of 2021, I think. uh,
Okay.
you could actually earn interest on, so you don't just have to like you don't just have to sit and hold your stuff. You can actually earn interest by entering staking protocols. And so these newsletters kind of had like blueprints for some of the staking protocols. So I started staking, and very little, because I was kind of reading a lot about asymmetrical gains. And so I started staking like sushi and
Yeah.
Graph and Band, and I didn't even have large stakes, maybe like 300. So it was kind of like an experiment in the
Yep.
beginning. So I started, and I was like, okay, maybe I can read more, and I started reading more, and I was like, okay, there are other staking protocols out there that pay more, but they are riskier. So at that point I learned about hacks, and I created just one stake in hacks, and I still have it.
Hmm. And this was
Currently,
back in
I lost.
27 or 2021, right? 2021. Got it.
Yeah, I lost.
Okay.
So, so but somehow, while I was kind of reading about and kind of experimenting with those protocols, I stumbled upon an article in Medium, and I think it was by cryptozoa.
Yep.
And so that was the first time I read about drip. And shortly after that, I discovered Brandon the Drip Guide channel.
Who's that
And
guy? I have no idea who that is.
uh, yeah, yeah. So
Right on.
big shout out to Brandon, the DeFi guy now. With
Absolutely. Love Brandon.
and um, so I was watching his videos, and that's how I entered Drip. So I entered Drip in like late August, early September of 2021. And then I also at the same time I got into the Kelly Snook's calculator and
Yep.
her Drip Rocket Science group. So these were like two people that I really followed and listened to and kind of used as my guides. I didn't have a nephew like yourself, so
Yeah.
and then
But
that's
yeah,
how
much smarter people at the time who really understood crypto. Yeah.
yeah, that's
Hmm.
how I got into Drip. And so I think like that's how I really got serious when I got
Got
into
it. So
hmm
let me ask you this, because our paths are somewhat similar outside of our tour guide. Like, you approached it by yourself. You just kind of pulled out your GPS, which is your mind and your heart, and you simply said, "Hey, this is something I'm pretty passionate about. I can figure this out myself." And I just hired a tour guide, which was my nephew. But our paths kind of ended up in the same direction, which is somehow in drip. So let me ask you this before we get into drip, because we're gonna have a really good, robust conversation about drip and how did you get started, and has your investment strategy changed, and a few other questions. Let me ask you this. Prior to Drip, you said that you were invested in a few other projects, namely Hex was one of the ones that you did mention. Were there some pretty good learning lessons and maybe some tough learning lessons you had to experience before you got into Drip and really started to appreciate it?
well, so all those projects that I mentioned, they were on the Ethereum blockchain, and
Yeah.
I really bothered. And as I mentioned, I was entering those projects in 2021, actually, like spring and summer. So a lot of people I think were entering them at the same time, and these projects, a lot of them were at the all-time high at that time.
Hmm.
And I was just like really flabbergasted by the gas fees. That was just really bothering me. Like to
That
make one
is ridiculous.
$30, and I was like, oh wow, and I mean it still
For a
bothers.
$30 transaction. Let's be clear
Yeah,
too, right? For perspective, like sometimes your gas is higher than the actual transaction you're attempting
yeah,
to process. Yeah, which is scary.
yeah. So that was bothering me. That was bothering me, and then I was like, wow, I mean, I still have some stuff on the not that much on the Ethereum blockchain. Like I got into this project. Hydra whales several months ago, and they're distributing rewards, and rewards I think like $30 per month or something like that. I haven't really gotten my rewards for the past several months because when I tried to do my first reward, I was like, well, I lose almost all of my reward just by the gas. So like, you know,
Exactly.
yeah,
Yes. Yes.
I'm yeah, I think I really appreciated. I mean, I did not appreciate high gas fees on Ethereum, and that's kind of put me off because all these other projects I was doing on Ethereum blockchain.
Okay, now that makes sense. Okay, got it. So clearly, you're a massive supporter of the Binance network for
Yeah,
obvious reasons. Got it. Okay, cool, cool, cool. So then, Cryptozoa, Drip Guide, Brandon. So, had you invested in Drip before you were exposed to Cryptozoa and Brandon and Drip Guide? Or did you find them first, still collect some data, and then decided to jump in? How did that work?
yeah. So first I read. Cryptozoa article.
Yeah.
Then watched Brandon's videos. And then I looked at Kelly's calculator. And after that, I invested.
CPG, you
So,
still there?
yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah, give me 1 second. I just want to check the audio. So let me ask a few people. One quick sec. All right. Is everyone hearing CPG okay? Is she coming in and out? I just want to make sure it's just not me. So if you guys are hearing her okay with no issues and sounds, give me a thumbs up. If she's coming in and out, give me a thumbs down. Okay, so the audio levels are good. Perfect, perfect, perfect. Thanks, everyone. I appreciate it. Okay, CPG, let's go ahead and finish. I'm sorry, I just want to make sure that the audio was good on my end. It's kind of coming in and out. And I know you've got massive input, insight, and information, and I want to make sure it comes out loud and clear. Okay, so you were saying that you read articles from Cryptozoa. That's kind of where we left out.
Yeah. So, and then I started actually looking for drip content on YouTube. And that's when I found Brandon and I was watching his videos. So he didn't have that many videos at that point, but he had
Yeah,
a really good one that unfortunately is lost now. It was actually linked to the Drips webpage. It's the guide how to get in, essentially, where he guides people from the beginning, from the
yeah.
very beginning to the end. So I watched that video and then I looked at Kelly's calculator. Um,
Hmm.
so she had an article and and the link to the calculator. So those three pieces: the Cryptozoa article, Brandon's video, and Kelly's calculator. So and then after that I invested.
Gotcha. And that was obviously still in 2021, right?
Yes, that
Do you,
was like September of 2021.
got it. Do you remember the price at the time?
Yeah, so I first I want to say that I started at $19 per coin. um Then I bought. So first I invested just one BNB because, like I said, a lot of it was like experimentation on my
Of
part.
course.
So
Of course. You mean to tell me there wasn't like a book, like a how to for like dummies to figure out
no,
cryptocurrency? No, no, that doesn't exist, especially not back in 2021. A lot of that stuff was trial and error, right? Especially for you because you're a self starter, self motivator, self educator. So for you, it sounds like the best way that you learn is actually execution. So I'm going to invest a little bit of money, hit this button, and see what happens next. And if everything gives me a green light, I'll proceed and maybe put a little bit more money in there. So it seems
yeah.
like you learn through execution. Yeah.
So yeah, so that's what I did. I invested one BNB, and then after like several days, I decided to put more, and then
Yeah.
more. And I
Yeah.
think like over a period of maybe 2 to 3 months, I ended up putting almost a hundred BNBs in the protocol.
What?
Yeah.
Congratulations. Someone is making a lot of money, doing really well as a professor. Just saying.
I was just very lucky. To be honest with you, Kryptonite or Drift Well, I was just very lucky, I think.
Yeah.
So I don't give myself too much credit here. I attribute some of it to luck
Uh huh.
because, like these BNBs, I bought them cheap. I bought them for like $13
Oh
in
my goodness.
yeah. So
That's a
I
sidebar
just kept
moment. Jesus, B&B for $13?
yeah, I
My
kept
goodness.
them forever. Like I bought them in 2017, and when late 2017, like November, December, and I just kept them because I didn't know what to do with them, and I didn't feel like trading them because it seemed like they mostly were going up, so I was not gonna risk that. So I was
Sure.
just sitting on them.
Good for
But
you.
when I so I thought Drip was a good place to keep them, so I jumped the gun at that point.
No, I mean, it seems like it's playing out really well for you.
Yeah, I think so.
I think so too. So I'm loving it. So let me ask you this since we are finally on the subject of Drip. Let's just start like at a very macro level, right? Because we currently understand where we are with the current state of Drip. And in my opinion, like the emotional sentiment is just across the board, across our entire community, right? Some people are frustrated and running out of patience, and some people are simply saying it's technology. It needs to take as long as it needs to take because it's complicated, and we want the money to be SAFU and avoid all these exploits. And someone like myself, I see and understand both sides, right? I can empathize with both sides of the equation. So for you, how do you navigate maybe people in your life that perhaps you've introduced into drip and or maybe members of your team at a macro level? What do you say to those guys about drip?
It's a very interesting question. So it's a bit tough question to answer as well.
Of
So
course.
yeah, so I have been a proponent, and I think I mentioned that when you guys invited me to the very first Mega Live.
Yeah.
I have been a proponent of this hydration and claiming approach for a long time, meaning that I was never one of the people that always they get so scared and they just sell every day.
Yeah.
But I was never a person who just never I was never a person that say you compound every day until the max payout, because the math clearly tells you that that's, regardless of the outcome, the math tells you that either one of those approaches are risky. They are risky. Both of them are risky.
Right.
So
So
you have,
claiming mostly or hyper compounding to max wallet.
mhm,
Okay.
yeah. So they're risky approaches. So I take the middle road, and that's what I advise everybody who I got into Drip, or maybe people in the Drip Telegram groups I'm with. It's not really my approach. I don't have a patent for it. I
Yeah.
think maybe Kelly Snook has patent for it, but I I use this approach. I use hydration and I use withdrawal. I do have some accounts that I actually have like a couple of small accounts that I do hydration only, because I don't like I maybe I view it as like my risky play, that what if Drip, we do get to
Totally.
1
Yeah.
million people or 1.5 million people at some point, and maybe these are the accounts that will carry me
Yeah.
through. But if we don't get to that and Drip goes really low, or maybe like something happens to the developer, like there are so many uncertainties in life, then if I lose them, I'm not going to feel too much pain and like sit there and cry. So
Mm-hmm.
I use hydration claiming approach on most of my wallets, and I advise the same thing to everybody around me
Yeah.
at this point, meaning that if Drip goes really really up, um, you will have opportunity to claim out and get highly daily payments. If Drip goes really really down, you haven't lost as much. At least you
Yeah.
did get your initial investment, you got some profit out. So I think that's my approach. Take the middle road, because the future is unknown. There is always a black swan event that's on the horizon. But at the same time, we should have a degree of optimism. So it is possible, with all the community efforts, with mass adoption, with maybe new things released, we might see, price and appreciation. Therefore, I think take the middle road.
Yeah. Look, for me personally, that sounds like music to my ears only because of my education and my professional experience. Like that's kind of how I've been built is you want to mitigate risk. So my recommendation personally would be, to always look to take money off the table as soon as possible. And a lot of people kind of consider that just a knee jerk response and really don't follow that advice. And again, each project should be kind of judged separately. And but at the same time, there should be guiding principles when investing, right? And one of those things should be always quickly ROI, right? So get your initial investment off the table as soon as possible, and then clearly you're left with house money, and now you can do a number of different strategies. But it's different for everybody, and it sounds like for you maybe you've got multiple wallets and perhaps each of the wallets serves a different purpose. but at the same time, you're still taking more of a balanced approach, right? So you're not hyper claiming, you're not hyper compounding,
Yeah.
you're somewhere in the middle, which I think is a practical approach, right? So let me ask you this, and I've been dying to get a different perspective
Mm-hmm.
on this question. All right, so we're going to dig a little deep, and I do really want your honest answer. And if you need a second to think about it, that's fine, and I'll just kind of introduce some other people on the call. So I know for a fact, because of your profession and the way that you've been trained, both through your formal education and your work experience, that you probably do have core principles that help you financially, personally, and emotionally. And you live by those principles. And the minute that you see something kind of outside of those core principles, it probably leads you to pause for a second, reevaluate, and then decide what you're going to do next. All right. So that's a long way of saying, if you think about the experience for Drip, let's say over the last 10 to 14 months, things haven't necessarily gone according to plan for obvious reasons, right? But in general, most people in our community allow for the exception for the developer and the team. Why do you think we allow an exception for Drip?
Okay.
See, I knew I was going to get you with that
Uh,
one.
why do we allow for an except? So,
Yeah. So if,
uh,
for example, if, and again, this is, let's just, because I just want people to understand this and I want different perspectives for people to understand why we remain optimistic and so bullish with Drip and the entire ecosystem. I know some other obvious reasons, but I want to get to the core. Like when certain things don't necessarily go according to plan, that
mhm.
signals a red flag for
Yeah.
most people, CPG, right? So
Yes.
let me be
Yeah.
very candid in my language, right?
Right.
It
Yeah.
signifies a red flag. And when it happens consistently, then you go on high alert. And typically that's when most people want to flee. Like I've seen enough, right? So for me, if I've got money, it's time for me to start pulling it out or come up with a separate plan and then
Mhm.
proceed. But we allow for exceptions in our community. And I'm saying, why do you think that is?
Well, I think this is a very interesting question. First, I do think that when some people saw those red flags, right? When people saw timelines maybe being postponed, or maybe when people saw that certain things that were promised were not delivered, I that we lost just because of that. But because of the nature of the protocol, we are kind of like, it's a very like painful process, because obviously these people, they probably just became perpetual sellers,
Yeah.
so they refuse to compound and they just sell every day. um, so we're kind of losing them, but we are losing them in a very slow and painful way. So yes, I think that some people probably, I mean, to be absolutely honest, I do think that some people probably live in protocol in that way, because
Yeah.
they see those, they're dissatisfied maybe with the, slow movement, maybe lack of delivery. Okay, so it's possible. That's for sure. Why some people remain optimistic regardless of this? So possibly, like, and again, this is just like my pure theorizing here.
Yeah.
So some of it could be due to sort of like confirmation bias. So essentially, we as humans, we are trying to always find evidence that supports our hypothesis, not refutes it, but supports it. So if I do have a very strong belief in the protocol, I would always look for supporting evidence, and I would not
Sure.
look for the refuting evidence. So I think this is again part of kind of like me speaking as a behavioral scientist. This is just human nature.
Yeah. Which is why I thought this was a good question for you. Absolutely.
So
Yep.
I think that's maybe the people. So some people are, dead scared and they're fleeing, slowly though, slowly fleeing, and some people are on the other end of the spectrum, they are not gonna, they will say, oh, no, which is why maybe sometimes we hear from other communities or from some new investors calling us names like cult, or some
Yeah.
like sometimes people call us some whole bunch of unsavory names, like we are called or whatever. So I think this is this group of people that just absolutely, and that's why, like as a scientist, I would say I'm kind of again taking the middle road. I know how difficult innovation is. So I
Yeah.
granted I'm not a developer, and I don't like I can code very mini, like I can't read really code, and like I'm I'm not proficient in coding, so like I cannot
None of
really,
us can. Yeah,
yeah.
none of us
So
can predict what
um,
he's dealing with. Not at
yeah,
all.
but I know that innovation is hard. I
Yeah.
know that innovation is hard, and I think what it's not only, there are, drip is only, I think, very small part of the DeFi community. There are so
Yeah.
many other protocols again on the Binance Smart Chain, on other chains as well. I think like a lot of these developers, they're really struggling in a way with with this innovation and making it safe and making it work, and sometimes maybe they bit a little bit more that they can chew. I'm
Yeah, that's fair.
sorry.
Yeah,
So
I mean, because again, it leads with it being so unpredictable, and then everything else you said leading up to that is you want to make certain that it's safe food, that it's not exploitable, and then you're really
yeah,
trying to identify the opportunity against your competition. So there's a lot to think about. There
yeah,
just really is. Hmm.
yeah. So therefore, I think sometimes about it as, perhaps it's hard and it takes time, and who am I here to sit and say, oh, you have to deliver this in 2 weeks, or you
Yeah,
have to deliver this in a month. So that's another approach. There is also another issue here, is that you can think about just kind of psychology of the leader and psychology of the crowd. And if you think in terms of the psychology of the leader and the psychology of the crowd, sometimes we are willing to forgive our leaders if we believe that either they have delivered in the past,
hmm,
or if we think they might deliver in the future. So, for example,
so good,
I'm
so good, CPG, so good. Oh, I love this. I could not
gonna.
wait for this conversation this week because you were going to provide a very fresh and unique perspective, but then backed up by your profession, like the psychology of people. Because psychology, aka emotions, and how you respond to things, that has a lot to do with the way that you invest. And so you're just going to break that down for us. So I'm loving it. This is going to be good.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. But I guess what I was trying to say that sometimes, think about political leaders, and I don't want to get into kind of like the current political landscape, but let's think maybe, I don't know, like 25 years ago. So a lot of, like in the United States, a lot of Democrats would are like very very happy what Clinton has done. For example, Bill Clinton has done.
Yes.
And some of the Democrats, especially some of the older Democrats, they almost idolize him. And the whole scandal with Monica Lewinsky is like, well, so what? I don't care about his shortcomings as a husband or whatever, as a person who lied about his whatever,
His discretions.
yes,
Hmm.
his affair. He did
Understood.
yeah, like he did well for the economy, and people would say
Hmm.
like economy really prospered under Clinton, and therefore his wrongdoings, I'm willing to overlook them. So
Yes.
maybe that's what people are doing as well with the current developer, that either the past, right, maybe people benefited financially a lot, maybe they feel very safe or have felt very safe for the past
Hmm.
2 years, and they're like, okay, we've benefited, he's done great for us, therefore I'm willing to forgive whatever delays or whatever. That's possible.
Yes.
That's possible as well. Or some people might be like, oh, I expect from him in the future, so I'm very certain. And some people might be very certain, this kind of maybe ties back to the confirmation bias. Some people are very certain that he will deliver. Like some
Yes.
people are dead certain. But I think also, we have to realize that he's also human and he has a team of human developers. And think about this, like, there are certain products out there, certain companies. Let me see, like, maybe I'm gonna pick up on Tesla.
Okay.
So I'm gonna pick up on Tesla here and say, I mean, so I don't know if you heard this whole story that about like a month ago, Tesla was made to send a recall notice. I actually, I don't know if I can maybe find it. I have it on my table. I received it. So they were basically saying that there is a problem with the full self-driving system, and they said they're going to update it. But there was this whole big thing that it's not really autonomous. It's not at the level of the autonomous self-driving, even though it was marketed that way. So and I actually experienced that because like I was actually doing I have a full self-driving mode, and I was actually driving on a very small road trying to get into the community on this uh, a full self-driving mode, and like
Hmm.
the car drove like a crazy teenager. It's like it jumped like as it was taking rides. And
Right.
my passenger there was like, what the heck is this? Like, take over, like, what
Yeah.
is this? Like, it's gonna kill us. So so and people, and I regardless of this, people still love Teslas. People will buy Teslas. Some people say that people who are buying Teslas, they are in a cult and they are idolizing Elon
Hmm.
Musk and whatever. And this is, and I know it's like on a different scale maybe here
No,
with,
but it's similar though. Yeah.
but it is similar, right? But
Very
people are
similar.
willing to forgive these things because one, well, still, if you've driven Tesla before, you might not want to go back to another car or maybe another EV even. That's
Yes.
one. And then two, people understand how difficult innovation is. So that's my kind of like thinking about this.
CPG, I did not know what to expect in terms of your response, but I just knew it was going to be next level and so unconventional and unique because of your profession. And for me, I think that's exactly what's happening. I think it's a combination of everything you just mentioned, which is completely fine. And here's the one thing that you also so graciously pointed out, it's just not drip. Like this behavior happens across most products and services. People become loyal to certain brands for whatever reason, right? It ties back to maybe some childhood experience. Um, Maybe they've had uber success with the particular brand or service and now they're loyal to that brand. And it doesn't mean that you're a cult or anything. It just says your experience dictates that you will
Yeah.
continue to trust this brand and or service until otherwise noted, right? And I think that's kind of what's happening with folks in the drip community. Like I really believe that most of us trust, I refer to them as the OGs, so the folks that were here during a very similar cycle where there was quite a bit of volatility in the drip price. And my guess is that they probably had the same concerns that we face today, and somehow they were able to maintain the course and fight through all the fudders and all of the mental fatigue and wanting to give up. And as a result, they've got success stories, personal testimonies based on the wallets that you see in their YouTube videos and the conviction that comes across in their YouTube videos. So I feel like we're going through a very similar phase. And I personally believe that if people are patient enough and continue to do what's right for them, if you can afford to DCA, if you can afford to continue to compound whenever you have time, and maybe even consider stepping away from cryptocurrency and occupying your mind with something else, I think it will pay dividends for you many, many months to come. So I'm glad you were able to articulate that with science and education on what the heck we're going through. So as a result, you get a sound.
Oh,
Let me ask you this, CPG. How do you feel
yes, I'm
about,
here.
because good, good, good. Let me do this. I want to give our listeners an opportunity to ask a question. And I typically only do it for people that are listening that I that I know, right?
Okay.
Because I don't want anyone coming on saying something silly. And yeah, that
Okay.
happens sometimes, CPG. But anyone as a listener that I know, if you have a question or comment for CPG, let me know. I see Susie. Mark has made it on. Lady Mania's on. Mike, Crypto Bag Trav, Lavelle, Westside, Jax, Moonshot, Susie. Alex is on the call as well. Yeah, we got a lot of people. Chase Stevens. All right, we're gonna go through the roll call. All right, so Wonder Woman. Let me try to get you in here, Wonder Woman. Wonder Woman, can you hear me? Welcome to the call. You are on with CPG, Crypto Professor Girl.
Welcome.
Hi, CPG. I really love you. I love every time I see you in the chats. You make me proud to be able
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
I just had a question for you. I was like, what do you think we got to do to get more women in crypto? I know it can be like a toxic man, situation sometimes, and it can put a lot of women
Yeah.
off. You know what I mean? To
Yeah.
you got to have some diamond everything to be in crypto for a girl. I feel like sometimes because there's so many times that stuff would have just put me off, and I would have like quit and backed out. But I'm fearless. I'm a survivor, so I'll just keep it pushing. But what do you think? Like with your background in psychology, I know women and men have different psychologies, and women have fear of investing like men and just going for it, so that's part of it too. But I just what are your thoughts? This is what I wanted to think.
That's a great question. That was on my list too. You're so smart. I appreciate you.
No problem.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Wonder Woman, for your question. Um, I think that well, I'm personally working on it, and I think Wonder Woman is working on it as well. So, how can we get more women into crypto? So, I've been thinking a lot about like what can we do, and that's why I actually started my series Women in DeFi. So far I've had 3 installations, and I'm hoping that I can do more. So I essentially just invite women from our community, and I interview them about their crypto and DeFi experiences, and they share their experiences and their wisdom. And we had some absolutely amazing speakers um, during the past 3 series. So I'm hoping that, you know, uh, they can serve as examples. So this is kind of like my first step is representation, right? So if women see that there are other women in crypto out there, they might be willing to try it. I agree with the toxicity, but I have not really experienced much of toxicity. Like, to be honest, like personally, I haven't experienced toxicity. I've actually found a lot of support. I feel
Yeah.
like people are really supporting me, and
Good.
I actually like wrote a whole list of people that I wanted to mention. I don't know if I'm allowed to do
Yes, you
this.
can. Absolutely.
Okay.
Hmm.
Okay. I have a whole list, and I'll be very. So I guess I should answer the question first, but yeah, I feel like a lot of people have supported me personally, and it's very interesting because I was looking at the. I have a very small YouTube channel, Crypto Professor Girl, and I was looking at my demographics, like who is watching my videos, and it actually said 100% male, and I was like, there is no way there's gonna be something like, not even because sometimes I see comments by women, but it is
Oh,
true that most of the comments are by men, and I'm like, maybe I'm not inspiring anybody, maybe I have to work harder there. But we do have like really cool group of women, which I see several women are actually. I see like Susie S and Perlas and Wonder Woman. So I think we are all part of this wonderful group, latest of the Fawcett group. This is a drip and animal farm specific group. But there is also another group that I'm part of that's also women, kind of like women group that Kelly Snook organized. It's called Nurturing Drip. So
It's good.
I've encountered multiple women, very knowledgeable women in DeFi, and I'm just hoping that maybe like by education and representation, as women, we can attract other women. But I also think like Wonder Woman made a very good point here in terms of like maybe men too. Maybe because I know what she's talking about. Like I am a member of multiple Telegram groups, and like sometimes like I would go to a group and like what I find basically is just like people posting like pictures of naked women saying these are ladies of the forces.
Yeah.
Okay. So this is not like, making even derogatory statements that they are into drip just to get women and like, to have as much sex as possible. So I don't know. I can see how these types of behaviors can be some, like, but,
Yep.
okay, you wanted maybe if you wanted behavioral scientist perspective on that. So there is this branch of psychology. It's called evolutionary psychology, and so they argue that essentially women and men are different because of very different reproductive strategies. So I'm not an evolutionary psychologist, but I teach, incorporate evolutionary psych in my classrooms. So the idea here is that um, men are attracted to youth and beauty, and women are attracted to social status just because of their reproductive
Mm,
strategies. Because women require, like they get pregnant and then they have to be pregnant for 9 months and then they have to breastfeed. People used to breastfeed for like up to like 3-4 years old kids, like evolutionary over thousands of years. So women became like really choosy with their partners, and so which translates really into what, like, who can give me the most protection. So it's money, it's social status, and that's why a lot of men are chasing fame and fortune, because that's very like it's a way for them to reproduce successfully. Now I'm not like by any means trying to argue that evolutionary psychology is 100% correct in explaining differences and into genders, but they might have a point, because essentially man without social status and social status and money, it's very hard for them to mate, essentially to find mates. So to have
absolutely.
either long term or short term sexual relationships, very hard for poor destitute men. Women can be poor and destitute, but if as long as they're healthy and young and pretty, they will find mates. So it's kind of two different currencies. Again, I'm not a proponent
Yeah.
of evolutionary psychology, but they probably do have a point, because they argue that this is how humans evolved over thousands and thousands and thousands of years. So I'm not surprised that men chase money, and specifically, and drip is money, really. So because yes, their goal is to find sex partners. That's like I'm like I realize that, but at the same time, I think that there was a really huge gender revolution over the past maybe 50 years or 100 years, where suddenly women had access to everything else what men had, and suddenly women, got into variety of powerful positions and very traditional male occupations, and now money is of importance to women as
Yeah.
well, and they feel like they don't have to they don't have to trade their youth and beauty for somebody's bag of drip or bag of bag of dollars or
Because
euros
they're
or
going to
whatever.
make their own bag of drip and
Hmm.
dollars.
They can make their
Understood.
own bag. But like I understand like where men are coming, like why do I see this? Like I kind of just explain it through, maybe that's just kind of like but I think men can, like we are more than just our evolutionary past. So I think it's like if men made conscious efforts to be maybe more respectful of women in this space and treat them more than just sexual objects, I think that more and more women will get into space. I'm sorry, maybe I got a little bit
No,
sidetracked with the evolutionary
I don't
side.
think so. I think it
Yeah.
provided the right context. So I want to ask Wonder Woman, did that answer your question?
I don't know. I feel like it kind of took a turn, but I really like where she went from there because that's I wasn't even thinking about that, like these thousands of years and our nature and nurture and how we already evolve, that's innate in us, and there's some stuff we can't combat. But I also
Hmm.
agree with her, like, if they made the space more welcoming for women, we would have more women.
So let me ask you this, because to me that's one side of the equation. I'm gonna come from a different perspective here because I love that.
Okay.
So that was more about like status and maybe the difference between men and women. I still want to ask this question: why do we think more and more women are not in crypto today? Do we still think that they're relying on the male in the household, assuming that it is a household with both men and women or another partner, that a male is going to go out and be the provider of the family? Or, again, with women evolving and reaching a certain professional status where now they're able to achieve similar, if not better wealth than men, what still prevents them from investing in crypto?
Well, women are more risk averse, and it's why. You could ask why, and I could give you one explanation, of course, is they are conditioned to be more risk averse from very early age. So you probably notice, like, some mothers would say, like, oh, don't run, oh, don't get dirty, come here, to their girls, but they would not say that to their boys. So some of
Sure.
it is probably social roles and just conditioning, like how we are raised as women, that we are just, women are taught to play it safe. And
Mm,
some would argue again that it's a part of our evolutionary past, that women just had to be risk aversive because because that's the most efficient survival and mating strategy for them. Like, women used to be pregnant like 20 times their lifetime, and like, where would you be running with the being pregnant and like engaging on these risky activities? So we can have like this whole debate, like why women are more or less more risk aversive. But part of it is probably, again, our evolutionary past. Part of it
sure.
might be just conditioning by the society. uh and but yeah, women are just more in general are more risk aversive.
Good. And for me, I just like the idea because you brought up your women in DeFi and you're up to your third series. So to your point, it's really just about the awareness and education, right? I think
Yes.
that's across the board,
Yes.
regardless of what your sex is. I think more and more
Yes.
people need to understand first what cryptocurrency is, then the value it has to offer, and how it could, if you're invested in the right product, literally change your life financially. Like it
Yes.
really has those possibilities. And for me, as a father of two daughters, it's always been so important for them to have a certain level of independence, and money provides a certain level of security and freedom, and again, the independence.
Yes.
And I coach them that crypto is an asset class that can really scale you up pretty quickly. Like anything else, there's natural risk involved because it's investing, right? So there's a
Yes.
possibility you lose it all. But that's life in general, right?
Yes.
That's life in general. Every day you
Yeah.
wake up, you're taking on some level of risk. Simply driving to work or getting on an airplane, there's always a certain level of risk, right? So if you want to change your life financially, you've got to do things slightly different. And part of that is understanding this new asset class called cryptocurrency. So it's the awareness and it's the education. So hats off to you and women in DeFi and everyone else that supports you and your channel. Currently, mostly men sound like, but I gotta
Yeah.
imagine that there's other women that support it as well.
Yes.
And to your point, you guys can't do it by yourself, meaning the women alone cannot support this agenda. Like men have to
Yes.
actively extend the olive branch and make certain that you guys are part of the process, right? And that is collaborating on Twitter spaces like we're doing tonight. That's collaborating on YouTube and being supportive on all these other social media platforms. Like that also helps kind of bridge the gap. So I welcome and support women in crypto and DeFi.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate what you're doing. I know you've invited, I think, Susie before as
Yeah.
a right. So shout out to Susie. So definitely, I do think that representation matters, and if yeah, like I said, if other women see that this is what we are doing, we are here. They might be maybe they'll get curious in the beginning, and then they'll get interested and get in.
No, they definitely will. They definitely will. And I think to your point, we didn't do it right away. I mean, we were probably in crypto for a number of months before we decided to start our Twitter Spaces or YouTube channel. Yeah, so everyone kind of does it on their own timeline. Yeah. And even if they don't, they'll probably support us through their subscriptions or follows or retweets and all those other fun things. All right, so let's do this. So let me ask you this. Let me see one more. I'm going to give somebody else, and then I've got a bunch of other questions I want to get to.
Thank you.
Mo is on. Mike, I see you. Patine9, welcome back. All right. Any of my listeners, do you have a question or a comment for CPG? Okay, cool. So CPG, here's what I want to do. I want to get to a couple of things. I want to continue our conversation on like the drip ecosystem, and then we'll
Okay.
kind of evolve into diversification, right?
Okay.
So let me ask you this: the current state of drip, and when I say drip, I'm really thinking about the entire ecosystem. So the animal farm, the garden. We'll talk about everything. So has your investment strategy changed at all with how you approach the faucet or the animal farm?
So like in 2021, I just like put a lot of money into it.
Yeah.
So I was really just putting money in 2021. Um, I still added more to my faucet accounts in 2022. I think when drip was like a $3 to $4, I added to some of the accounts.
Yeah, sure.
After that, I have not added to any of the faucet accounts. Um,
So do
or
you have a max wallet combined right now? Have you achieved that
combined
massive
with
milestone?
So
Yeah.
I don't have a max wallet on any of the accounts, but I
Yeah.
think probably I have not counted. I probably should have done it before this, but I probably have, I don't know, 60 or 70,000 tokens burned
Woo.
in the faucet
Excellent.
across all the accounts.
Good for you.
Um,
Congrats.
Thank you. So basically, so I still kept adding, so like I kept adding in 21 and 22. I have not been adding any new capital in 2023.
Okay.
um I think I'm at this stage where I am kind of like wait and see approach, if I, in terms of adding new capital. um so have I know, like, so this is specifically for the drip.
We can say
um
the drip. Yeah, we can start there for
yeah,
sure.
yeah, specifically for drip, and specifically for, for the drip community. So I have added, I think, like some BNBs in the reservoir in 2022, like towards the end of 2022. um but like I have not added in either faucets or the reservoir in 2023. So I'm
Hmm.
just hydrating and claiming, from most of the accounts, and I do have a couple of the accounts where I just hydrate only. So
Gotcha.
in terms of the animal farm, so I entered animal farm as a mana farm, like I was there from the very beginning. um and the garden I entered from the very beginning, and like the with the piggy bank I entered from the very beginning. And in so I kept adding, like I added some fresh capital, like actually went and bought some BNBs with fiat and added to um piggy bank,
Okay.
and also I think piggy bank and maybe
The
pig
pig
pen
pen. Yeah. Hmm.
2022. But I have not added, again, I have not added anything new in 2023. And I also
Okay.
kind of shuffled money a little bit in 2022, where i I would pair some drip with BUSD and then I put it in the garden, but I have not added any new capital into either
Hmm.
Animal Farm or Drip Network in 2023.
Gotcha. Okay.
So that's my
But again,
personal.
you started in 2021, so it's been, close to 2 years for you. So in your
Yes.
mind, you've kind of invested what you're willing to lose at this
Yes.
point. And your strategy may be different for someone else who's just been in for a number of months. They may be at a phase where they see drip at, I don't know, 35 to 45 cents. And so now they want to continue to DCA
Yes.
in. Yeah, but it's a big difference. You've been DCAing in for a number of months and compounding and claiming. And for them, it may be something completely different. So I understand why you would say that. Yeah, I actually have not invested much more capital, but I'll be honest with you, it's tough for me to see drip at these prices and not want to buy a little bit more because I keep thinking about accelerating my process to get to a max wallet a little quicker. I just
Okay.
do. So I put in a little bit more.
Well, good luck. I hope you find some. I hope you find some and can get some.
Yes, I mean, but to your point, again, we got in at very different times. So for me, I've been in less. So for me, I've got a little more risk capital. I'm willing to invest back into the entire ecosystem across different products, and we'll see how it all shakes out. Because part of it is just my conviction, and I'm going to be real honest. My conviction really starts with the community, and I want to ask you about that because I've seen maybe one or two products that was heavily focused on the product itself and making certain that it was perfect, like literally perfect. And that went on for, I don't know, 18 months. And during that 18 months, there was literally no marketing. So no one was creating excitement or brand awareness associated with that particular product, right? So that's example A. Then I seen example B, where you had a product that had literally zero utility, but did an amazing job of marketing. And it
Mm-hmm.
became $1 billion coin, right?
Yeah.
So it is so important to kind of find the balance between them both, right? In my example, and this is just my professional experience, and I'll use an example in my finance experience when I worked for a Fortune 500 company. We'd always go through this annual process every single year of creating our financial budgets for the upcoming
Mm-hmm.
year. And that process would literally take us about 4 or 5 months to come up with the budget for 2024 in this example. And it would literally be, Monday through Saturday, you would work anywhere between 8 and 12 hours. You just knew that during this time, you had to be committed to creating this budget. And what was
Mm-hmm.
so curious about that, CPG, was no matter how many hours we dedicated to creating that budget, do you realize when 2024 hit and on day one, that budget was already wrong, right? Think about what I'm saying. Right? The budget is already wrong because we realize that things change every single moment of the day. And what's most important is that you make adjustments along the way to kind of get back to that number, right? Because you're never going to nail it perfectly day by day, week by week, month by month, right? So the point is, at some point, feel really good about where it's at and then pencils down. And then you navigate the process by day, by week, by month. But you got to release the product. So for me, it's always about finding the right balance between perfection and being good enough and then adjusting, right? So if you think
Yeah.
about like just going kind of like left turn in my example, if you think about like iPhones, if you have one or a Samsung, don't you get updates every once in a while?
Yeah.
Yeah. Right. Can you imagine if they didn't release it until all the updates were done? They would never release a phone
Yeah.
to me. Right. So at some point you release it and you make modifications along the way. So that's my long way of saying, on one hand, I can empathize with people that simply say it's been too long. And then I can also empathize with people that simply say it takes as long as it needs to. But there's got to be some balance in the middle, right?
Yeah.
You got to
I
find the right
agree.
balance.
I
Yeah.
agree.
So
I
that gets
agree.
me back to community. So for me, our community is so deep right? In terms of number and breadth of experience and knowledge,
Yes.
that we've come up with these amazing products to continue to support the ecosystem, right? Like you and I are both a part of the Guardians of the Reservoir, right?
Yes.
And then they've got all these other amazing projects like Drip Drop Draw, Piggy, the Drip Marketing DAO. What else is there? LD's got Brick by Brick, right? Who?
Hellhound.
Hellhounds, and then you've got Drip Coach. I think he's got Change 360,
Change
and
360. Yeah.
yeah, who else? Triptopian, right? I want to make sure I can.
Foodtopian. Yeah.
Triptopian. I want to make sure we get them all. So for me, when I think about my conviction, a lot of it is driven by the community, right? Because again, that strikes the balance between you can't have one without the other, right? You can have this amazing product, but if no one's aware of it, they're not going to buy it or
Yeah.
invest in it, right? So you need the
Yeah.
community support from there. And then the community needs a dev that they've got confidence in and a protocol that they can trust is Safu
Yeah.
and is not exploitable so that they can get behind it and then start to tell everyone else about it. So for me, I do feel like we've checked the box on both the dev and the community, which is why I stay so optimistic in the ecosystem. Is there any other reasons that force you to be super optimistic about what's going on in our ecosystem?
Why we should be super optimistic? I mean, I think my answer will be very similar to yours. So,
Yeah,
I I think that we are probably one of the largest communities in DeFi. Again, it's hard to estimate the total number. So we do have over 150,000 wallets
yeah,
currently. Like if we just make an assumption, this is a really difficult assumption. Like if it's average 3 per person, because some people have 70, some people have 20, some people have one. So
yeah,
right,
yeah, yeah.
but let's just say it's 3 wallets per person, so that puts us to 50,000. So I would estimate that we are somewhere between 30 and 50,000 of actual people, of real, individuals behind those
Sure.
numbers. So this is a really large
Yeah,
community, and I'm really like, I also, I would like to shout out to all these projects that you mentioned. Of course, the community has been doing. I mean, I love the community. It's doing so much, and we have like I'm going to go ahead and just
you
I
should.
have
Yeah,
stuff that I really want to mention. So yes, I think the Guardians of the Reservoir. I know that the stage 2 is
yeah.
coming
Can't wait.
soon,
Can't
right?
wait.
The the brick by brick, where again it's a real estate project that also supports Drake, the Hellhounds, Change 360, and there are some. I know Droplet also has burned some
Yeah,
Drip, so there are so many different projects, and I'm probably I'm not and then of course you guys, the Drip Marketing DAO that's trying to target English speaking countries in
yeah.
Asia. So there are so many things that are going on that I feel like really is supporting. Who knows what our price, the Drip price, could have been without those projects. We just don't see. We don't see maybe the impact of those
No, it
projects,
is
right?
hard to quantify, isn't it? And both you and I enjoy digging into that level of detail, but how do you quantify something like that? You're right. We
Yeah,
know that it is has
it's
been
hard.
massively impactful, totally. But how do you
Yeah,
quantify that? Yeah, you're right.
yeah, it's hard. It's hard, but like it is possible that we would be at 20 some cents right
Yeah,
now, if not for those projects. And of course, there were other initiatives like Stuff the Reservoir.
yeah.
Some people are sending to the tax vault continuously. So there are a lot of things that are going on. And then of course the DDD the
Can't wait for that one.
is also developed by the community
Cannot
members.
wait
I
for that
know it
one.
kind of like right
Yeah,
got to for approval and like final touches, but it's the community members that developed it as well. So there are so many things, and I feel like this is probably one of like I have never been a part of such a huge community and such supportive community, and I feel like again this is because we've grown so large. that sometimes we do see maybe some disagreements, but I think this is very crucial for us now. We need to unite.
1,000%.
We need
Well
to
said.
unite, and we need to unite not only in terms of like, oh, we are a drip community, we're gonna, I mean, and of course part of it is of course supporting drip. I know some people are not like, don't care about animal farm, or I don't know if I want to say drip and animal farm, or just like maybe drip ecosystem.
Yeah.
I'll just say drip ecosystem community. But also, like, I really liked this message. I think some of your speakers kind of talked about it in the previous Twitter Spaces. I think maybe Brendan have said something that kind of like viewing us like we are DeFi pioneers,
Yeah,
and
we
we are
are.
against the traditional finance. We are
Yes.
DeFi versus TradFi.
Yes.
We are building something absolutely new and amazing. And so I think that, first of all, I do want to acknowledge drip community, just like drip ecosystem community. And there are so many amazing people. Of course, my two people that started me, of course, I'm gonna give shout out to them, the DeFi Brandon, the DeFi guy, Kelly Snook with the Rocket Science Group, then amazing women in the Ladies of the Faucet, Irene, Susie S, Wonder Woman, Sabrina, Ants Girl, Perla's Crypto Cafe, Lady Mania, Ruby Roo, the Guardians of the Reservoir, also very
Hey.
special people in to my heart. Drip Girl, LD from DeFi Strategy, Unmade Sugar, Moonshot Max, More Crypto 777, Lead Driptopian / Foodtopian, Rock Ape, Crypto Mark 7, Crypto Fergie, DeFi Dialogue, all these amazing people. And, I'm sure that I'm missing some people. I hope I'm not, and I think we have like, think what you just said. You said about how broad the width and the breadth of our community. We have all these different leaders, team leaders, content creators, and they speak different language in a sense.
Right.
They speak different language because they tap into different market segments.
Yes.
So, for example, if you want to attract like truck drivers, then we have Stana Breezy. But,
But
he's
it's
speaking
true.
the
Yes.
language, right? Like, I don't
Yes.
think I can attract truck
So
drivers.
true.
Probably, I don't have those types of lives experiences. For women, we have Ladies of the Faucet, people who are coming from STEM disciplines, people who are coming from scientific backgrounds, people who are very analytical. We have Kelly and Brandon for those types of people.
Yes.
For eternal optimists, we have Bartertown for eternal optimists.
Yes.
We have Crypto Kings for for eternal, and for younger audience, right? We have
Yes.
Crypto Kings for younger. We have Drip Coach for digital nomads. We have so many people. And like, I was a little bit disheartened for like maybe past 2 weeks, where maybe I felt like maybe some group members were maybe not getting along or criticizing each other too much. And I was like,
Mm-hmm.
I really want to be positive here. We might have different viewpoints, we might have constructive criticism about the protocol, we might have constructive criticism about maybe about the developer even. But because these people targeted different audiences and they brought so many people into the
Yeah.
ecosystem, even if I disagree with them, I'm not going to say that they're fathers, and I'm not going to say anything negative about them. In fact, for every single person, I'm only going to say positive things, because I see positive things in all of them, even
Oh,
in the
that's so
people
good.
that have constructive criticism. I'm not going to call them fathers. They're all ours, each one of them, each one of them. Anyway, sorry, I kind of got carried away a little bit. I kind of felt like maybe like I was a revolutionary here, but
Which
anyway, I'm sorry.
y- no,
Um,
I mean, but no, you're so spot on, because, and part of it is, and I had this conversation with someone earlier today. Part of it I kind of understand, because, and I use my sports background. Like, when you're on a team that's constantly winning, you know what you don't do? You don't fight amongst each other, right? Because you're celebrating. Not only are you celebrating, you're practicing. You're practicing even harder. You know why? Because everyone wants to bring down the champion, right? So you must be laser focused when you're on practice and when you're in the game because every team wants to beat you. And you know what happens? Now, as a team, you bond together even tighter, right? Because now it's us against the world. That's what happens when you win. It is us against the world. Everyone's looking to take us down, right? And then when it's the opposite, there's all of this infight. It's like, what are you not doing? You didn't do this. It's your responsibility to be here. It's like all this stuff, all this negative stuff, because you're kind of losing, right? So people are taking that opportunity with Drip just kind of being, what's the right word? Trading sideways for as long as it is. They're kind of distracted by all of the noise, right? They just really are. And I'm saying you're right. People need to reset, literally just reset and remember it is the drip community against fiat. It's the drip community against traditional finance, right? It's the drip community against financial institutions. All the people that are taking our hard-earned money that most of us have to have sitting in a bank and paying us 1% annually and then loaning it out to other people at 23% annually. Like those are the people that we should be fighting against, right? Not us. Because the other point that you made, which is the diversity of thought and age and gender and race and religion, like all of that stuff is important for a community. It's so necessary. So if I don't agree with you, so what? I don't identify with your characteristics, your traits, whatever. That's okay because we're a big community. And here's the one thing that I wish we do, and sometimes I get off the rails as well. Like there's this thing called locker room talk, right? Like certain conversations should be held privately. Like it's not necessary to kind of air your dirty laundry in public. You know what I mean? Because all of a sudden, all that does is just create dissension within the community, and there's a great divide for people who support that one community against the person you're talking about. And all of a sudden, we're divided, and we're losing sight of who we're really fighting. Right? It's the big institutions. Right? We're fighting them, and at the same time, we're trying to make money in this thing called crypto. So let's find common ground and let's all get along. And if I've got something that I want to say to you, let's try to have the private conversation behind closed doors. All right.
Yeah. Yeah. I like that. I like that. So maybe if, you disagree with somebody, approach them directly,
Yeah.
maybe. And I also forgot, actually, I was going to name more people because can I
A
name more
thousand
people?
percent.
Am I
Yeah,
allowed?
because we're giving people their
Okay.
flowers on Twitter Spaces every single
Right.
week.
Okay. So I just wanted also to thank people that support me that I see a lot in my comments, like Legacy 7 Crypto, like Raymond Ali, like Ryan M, West
West
Side, I
Side.
think he's Mark B, Jeffrey is real, Jonathan Rosario, and many, many others. I just, I wrote some names here, but I, you know, yeah, this is also, I agree with you. Like maybe, we can have some disagreements, but
It's going to happen.
perhaps better to discuss them in private. And yeah, I really like the idea of it's us, people in DeFi against traditional finance. And, to be honest with you, like you said that you wanted to talk about diversification. And
Yes.
there is not, some people say that you cannot be a part of the drip community if you invest in other protocols. And this is like, I am not with that stance. Like, I'm not
Agreed.
with that. I think, I am in protocols that support drip. And, like I'm personally in Animal Farm, in BBB, in Hellhounds, in the Guardians. I'm thinking about perhaps also maybe buying NFT for the Driptopian project and the Change 360. I haven't gotten to that yet, but I'm also in other projects that are not forex shark projects. But I don't think it makes me less of a supporter of Drip just
Not at
because of
all.
projects, or you know um I think that we really need competition, because think about Uber and
Mm,
Lyft. Like
mm,
Uber and Lyft, they coexist, and they actually operate on very small, like it's it's the same model. Think about it.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
They still, both of these companies still exist. Or food delivery, right? There are so many
Yeah.
companies that are doing food, or supermarket chains. you
Yes.
know, there are so many, again, with EVs, okay, so many companies are jumping on EVs, and or okay, so the OpenAI came up with ChatGPT, but so many companies are jumping on and developing their own, AI products. So we
Yeah.
need competition, and
Thousand
Drip
percent.
needs competition.
Thousand
Maybe,
percent.
yeah, Drip needs competition. So, are there projects out there that might be even better than Drip? Oh, it is quite possible.
Yes.
I'm not going to deceive myself. Maybe they haven't been born yet, but there will be projects that have been. But we need this competition, and I don't think there is anything wrong if Drip people are invested in other projects. I don't see anything wrong with that whatsoever. I think we should be all open, and you as a financial advisor, I'm sure you advise, you're never going to tell somebody just invest everything in
Never.
Apple, sit there, you
Never.
know that just doesn't work.
Doesn't
So
make sense.
you know I and I'm gonna say, okay, if people in other projects, that's fine. It's good for Drip to have competition, and it's good for us to be open-minded. And I think there's probably going to be so much innovation in DeFi space over the next 5 to 10 years, that the place is going to become something totally different than what it is now. It's even hard to imagine. It's gonna be probably something super amazing in a very short period of time.
CPG, I'm having to restrain myself. I just really am. If you can see me right now, I'm like a balloon that you just keep blowing air into, and eventually it's gonna pop. Like
Oh,
everything you're saying, I'm aligned with. Right. And
okay.
I said that pretty calmly, but my emotions are all over the place. Like for me, I think it is so critical, what you said, and I'm not going to elaborate because we're getting close to the 90-minute mark. Like the competition in any product or service, it is a necessary evil. People hear me talk about it every week on Twitter Spaces because competition never allows you to become complacent and lazy and not really focus on your investors. Competition keeps you sharp and you're constantly innovating because the threat of someone stealing your market share concerns you. So you're always looking to see what the competition is doing and attempt to do it better. And your competition is doing the same thing. So if everyone is constantly looking to innovate and provide value for their investors, guess who benefits? It's us,
Yeah.
the investors, CPG.
Yeah.
So competition is what we need, right? So
I
again, it's so important, right? And I just want people to comprehend that. And if you don't, that's a personal choice. But at the same time, we should not be disappointed or consider someone else a transplant or fodder for
or
diversifying,
trader or
right? Or a
trader.
trader for diversifying. Because again, my background, I would always advise my clients to diversify. There's so much risk when you go all in on one particular product. Now, let's do this because I don't want to dance around it, and you'll probably be the best person to respond to it. So some may consider Arc Finance. Let's just be real transparent, like competition to Drip. So I'm gonna let that marinate for you, and I'm just gonna voice over a couple of things that I'm thinking about. So some may consider anybody who supports Arc Finance as direct competition for Drip. And I would say, cool, because I just told you competition is important, right? Here's the other thing which you also brought up, which I'm acutely aware of. I was not in DeFi 5 to 10 years ago. You weren't in DeFi 5 to 10 years ago, right? Maybe
Mhm.
close, but not 5 to 10 years ago. LD wasn't there. Moonshot Max wasn't there. Mo Crypto wasn't there. Who else? Wonder Woman wasn't there. And I'm considering all of these people to be bright minds, very smart people, very driven people, very focused and collaborative type of people. And you know what they're doing? They're bringing their professional expertise, the thing that they've been doing for 5, 10, 15, 20 years to this space. So the evolution is you're going to have so many smart people that are going to challenge the status quo, that DeFi is not going to look the same 3 years from now, 5 years from now. So everyone better be evolving because it's coming. It is absolutely coming. Nobody has time to be complacent. You better be on it. And the competition is coming in hot and heavy. And they're coming in with roadmaps and they're coming in with people that they've worked with for a number of years. Like I've got people on my team that are in sales, that are in marketing, that are in operations, and they've been doing this stuff forever. So when they come into this space, they're saying this is second nature. It's not going to take me months to kind of onboard this stuff. Just give me a couple of weeks and it's done. Right? So the competition forces you to be better. All right. So diversification, ARK Finance, is that bad? Is it competition to drip? Are you a trader if you get into ARK Finance?
So this is not new, right? So perhaps ARK is the youngest one, but there have been other protocols that try to take I guess, I don't know, market share or maybe tap into the drip community. So I remember, I don't know what was the first one. There was like something called Golden Goose. There was Splassive. I wasn't in either one of those, but I remember Stunner Breezy making videos about Splassive. um I remember other protocols, for example, Piston. So I was actually in Piston, and Piston really tried, but they failed. I think right now they, like, oh gosh, I think they had like maybe only $40,000 remaining in the liquidity, and they had to pause the protocol and take a vote. And I think what they finally decided is that people who did not ROI, they might be still, I haven't followed, but they thought, okay, maybe people who are not ROI, we're going to put this $40,000 with like a trading bot and try and see if we can just increase the liquidity for people to, for whoever invested but have not ROI'd, at least maybe to give these people money back.
Yeah.
So like Piston kind of, so like Furia, right? Furia failed, Piston failed, Splassive, whatever.
And drip is still here.
Yeah, drip is still here while all these other protocols fail. So I mean, certainly ARK is not the first one. So I think the jury's still out on ARK
Sure
because
is. It's
ARK
too
is
early.
so small. So I think they have about maybe 4,000 wallets or so. So I don't know how many people that translates into, but so it could be that it's just maybe 1,000 people that's
Sure.
behind ARK. So it's really, really small. Now, does it have potential? Yes. Can it fail? Yes. Now, so like if you talk about drip competition, so they haven't been around that long, I think, to be
Correct.
considered like, it's
True
not like,
competition.
yeah. So it's not
Agreed.
like, yeah, like, if you think about maybe competition in the real world, like you can think about like Coke and Pepsi, or maybe you
Yes.
can think of like, I don't know, like Volvo and maybe BMW, something like that. But these companies have been there for a long time. So like ARK is very new, and jury is still out, and Drip has been working for 2 years. So it's like, I don't know. I think it's ARK is a baby, and Drip is a 18-year-old. So I don't
Yes.
know if like a baby can compete with the 18-year-old.
Cannot. Right.
So, but then also, ARK is saying that they have all this like innovations, that they try to look at Drip, they try to look at Furia, they try to look at whatever Ooze, they try to look at Piston, and they're trying to build something. So good. I say good. maybe they succeed, and actually I think I'll cheer if they succeed. But I don't think I would equate it with the current, like the because drip has shown that it can work for so long, and there were no, like, there were no rug pulls, there were no like drastic change of the protocol. I do remember there was one change of the protocol, which most of your audience probably doesn't, because I was on that Telegram chat when Brandon, the Defi guy, and Kelly found the discrepancy between the white paper and the protocol, and they brought it to Forex Track and said there is a discrepancy, and he fixed it. So,
Awesome.
but that was long time ago. That was like September 2021.
Okay.
But I don't remember any other changes since that day when Kelly and Brandon brought it and said, "Hey, there is," and this is all on record. By the way, I do want to give credit to those people, because I
Hmm.
think that we need to give credit where it's due, because they were the ones that noticed the discrepancy. But
Fantastic.
yeah, but think about this, like, I don't think so. I think jury's still out on ARC,
Agreed.
and
Yes.
I think it's good if it succeeds. Like, it's going to be healthy competition, but I think it's too early even to say, like. And then, think about this, like, maybe if the drip DAO can bring to the attention of the developer that they think that maybe there's some investors are investing into ARC instead of drip, maybe it would prompt him to release the product sooner. Could
Hmm.
it be like that? It can actually drive the innovation. Maybe
Hmm.
we can look at it positively.
1,000%. Yeah. Everything you said, I'm completely aligned with. I'm saying, look, guys, same thing the way that we would manage it in real world. Their market share doesn't compare. So they're really not a threat to us. They're just a new product that's out. And we wish everyone who wants to invest in Arc Finance the best of luck. Right? The best of luck. Once you finally get to like 100,000 wallets, okay, let's have a conversation, right? So right now, it's really not true competition to Drip when you're comparing apples to apples, right? Because again, you brought out the obvious. It's months compared to years. It's 100,000 plus wallets compared to maybe 4 to 5,000, right? So it's not a fair fight right now. Are people allowed to diversify? Of course, it's my money. I could do whatever the heck I want with my money. Do I care how you really feel about how I invest my money? Absolutely not. Right? Absolutely not. So, do you, I'll do me. And I
Yeah.
just wanted to bring that up because I know that you had a interview with Kelly Snook, and Kelly was part of the reason I also invested in the Drip ecosystem because I saw her Drip calculator and I was fascinated by it.
Yeah.
So I actually am a member of her team.
Yeah. Me.
Um,
Well, I'm actually a member of Brandon's team, but yeah, I think that I probably would not have invested had I not seen her calculator. So
1,000%.
yeah,
Yeah.
but I like the
1,000.
idea, Bert. You said you do you, I do me. Like, I tried something, like I tried elephant money. I had negative experience with elephant money, so I'm not gonna go into elephant futures because
Yeah.
I had negative experience with trunk. So, but do I hate people that introduced me to it? No, I don't. I actually take full responsibility. It's my it's my money. It's my fault.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I want to say good things about people. So, like, maybe some people supported something or suggested something that didn't work out, but they've also done such great things for me that I'm willing to overlook and say, like, well, maybe they got into these protocols and they suggested, but it didn't work out. But again, I look at all the good they have done, and I'm like, well, Kelly has done. I mean, she has thousands and thousands of people in her rocket science groups,
Yeah.
and she's brought so many people into drip. So I give her credit.
I agree. And for me, this is the other lesson that I'm starting to learn. And we said it before, like this technology is super complicated and it's constantly changing and evolving. And my guess is along the way, there probably are going to be some missteps because people aren't perfect. It's really not if, it's maybe when it's going to happen and then how you respond to it. right? Or are you able to innovate to close the gap on whatever this misstep was? And if the answer is yes, cool. But what happens is, to your point, some people are there so early that they have a horrible experience and they no longer want to participate in their product, and that's completely fine. But if you fast forward 12 months and this person has made the adjustments, meaning they've closed the gaps on any exploits within their protocol, they've advanced the innovation, they've taken cues from competition, and they've kind of built that into their smart contract. So 12 months, it's very different. And the people in there now are having great experiences.
Yeah.
So is it
Yeah.
still a bad product? I don't think so. It's like when you were in it, it was, but now it's
Yeah,
not,
it's
right?
true. It's a very good point. Yeah, and
Yeah,
actually, I had a conversation like that yesterday. I think with some, it might have been Ruby Roo from Legends of the Faucet, and she said, "Well, to give credit." She was like, "Yeah, Elephant Bunny's that like, yeah, they had this problem where they had a hack, and Forex actually, I think, and some others warned BT about the protocol vulnerability, and he hasn't listened. But to give him credit, he worked hard since then, and he really tried to improve the ecosystem." So yeah, I guess I like where you're taking it, that well, developers also make mistakes, and as
of
long as
course.
they're malicious, we know there are some like malicious people out there, but as long
That's
as they're
different.
malicious, but they are truly, they're truly interested in innovation and protecting their customers' funds, the investors' funds. Yes, they might make mistake and lose some of our money, but maybe 12 months down the road or 24 months down the road, maybe they learned their lesson and created something new and amazing. So maybe even elephant money will become something amazing in 12 months. Who knows,
Right.
you know?
Who knows? I
Yeah.
agree. Who knows? But people, well, I don't know. I don't want to go, but I think everyone gets the point. So we want to, like, I think everyone gets the point. So let me ask you this, CPG. I'm going to give the listeners one more opportunity to either ask a question or maybe provide a comment. And then
Okay.
if there are any closing remarks you want to leave the folks that have been on the call. All right. So for my listeners, do you have a question or a comment? And I hate to say it, I see you, Pig Maxi. I'm going to DM you after Twitter Spaces. And this has just become a rule for me. I don't necessarily let anyone on Twitter Spaces I'm unfamiliar with for the first time. I've actually got to understand who you are, your content, your messaging, and make certain that it's aligned before I invite you on to speak. So I'm not trying to ignore you. I just am unfamiliar with who you are. All right. But I will DM you to try to get to know you better. All right. So any other listeners? Questions, comments for CPG? Okay. All right. CPG, it's a great conversation. I've been looking forward to having very different perspectives on. That's why I appreciate you and Susie coming on, because you're right. It is a male dominated space currently. And not to say we think alike, but most of us are aligned fundamentally on how we invest and how we navigate through cryptocurrency. And my guess is it's probably different from maybe how women approach it. So it's always fun and exciting to kind of listen and hear how you guys are thinking and approaching investing in crypto, and more importantly, attempting to get more women into DeFi, because it's important, right? It
Yeah.
really is. It totally is. So, hey, did you want to leave the folks with anything?
Well, first of all, I wanted to actually thank all the listeners that I'm seeing on this call. Thank you to Wonder Woman, Moonshot, our crypto Mark, who's secret agent for Interpol, uh, Lady Mania, Ants Girl, Kayla, Westside. I see Westside on a lot of the on comments on my channel. Jax, LJ, Defi, Emmett. Emmett actually special. I know I haven't mentioned Emmett. I think I haven't, but I know Emmett has been working very tirelessly on stuffing the reservoir campaign, and he's been a really good force in the Drip Rocket Science group. Susie S, thank you. And Susie's been very active. Patty9, Mike, Crypto Cuban, and Perla's. Perla's been Perla's Crypto Cafe. She has come on the Women in DeFi. MSH, Crypto Bag Travis. Okay, thank you so much for coming. Deontay Austin, Lavo. Who else? Ethereum Crypto. I really want to acknowledge everybody who came. Nina Brown,
Love it.
Lady Dripper, and Pete Maxi. Thank you guys because you stayed till the very end. So
Soundbar for them all.
yes, and I think my message is the same. I think it's us, the DeFi people versus TradFi people. I am for most a drip person and or drip community person, but I think that at this stage, my message would be, we do need to support each other in drip, but I also want us to support other DeFi people as well, because I
Agreed.
do think that it's really us against the traditional finance and centralized exchanges. And I wish everybody health. That's the most important thing,
Yes.
because there's wealth without health. So I hope everybody takes good care of themselves, eats right, exercises, and has a lot of love in their life, that they can share their whatever the financial prosperity that they achieve, that they can share with their loved ones.
Love it. Hey, CPG, somebody popped in. I think they've got a question or comment, and
Okay.
I'm going to invite them on. Emmett and Jax, I know you guys are probably just as busy as I am, but I want you guys to consider joining us on Twitter Spaces, and we can pick the right topic. We brought up the res. I think that'd be pretty cool because I think people believe they understand it and the importance of kind of stuff in the res, but I don't think they really understand it. And part of the reason I kind of draw that conclusion, you just think about the number of people that actually participate. It's a very low percentage compared to the number of wallets that
Yeah.
people actually hold. So if we're able to, in addition to kind of maintaining the competitions, but really the educational piece and kind of helping people truly understand the financial implications in terms of what they get, because people are always concerned about, well, what's in it for me? So maybe we can continue to quantify that in real examples. And then the byproducts of you participating and how that kind of stabilizes the drip price floor. I think that will be a dynamic conversation. All right. So I'm willing to have that. So be open minded to that. All right. Lavelle and Susie. Whoa, everyone's trying to get on now. Okay, Lavelle, you're up first. Susie, you will be next.
Yeah, so real quick for a crypto professional girl, if you could add any additional innovation to drip or to the animal farm, what would it be?
Any
I'll hang
additional
up and listen.
innovation? Okay, so is it one of the innovations that has not been considered by the team yet?
So it could be something where maybe something outside of the box, or it could be something that's in the works, that's already in the works. So it's just, just shooting the breeze.
Yeah. Wow. This is an amazing question. I think what I so I don't know if you guys are aware, but like recently, there was this service in the United States, and I think they're working to expand it internationally. It's called Spritz, that allows you to actually pay your bills with many different tokens, including now Drip token. But I wish we actually had that, like, if we had that service not through Spritz, but and I don't know if it's possible, but like directly through Drip, like, and maybe even on the Drip website, where people could pay their bills with or like maybe shop on Amazon with Drip tokens or something like that.
Gotcha.
yeah, some people say that, they feel like it's going to add to the sales, selling pressure. But I think, like, we are going to be losing, like, we're losing to spritz now. Like, you see, so like spritz said, okay, maybe at some point we are going to, give you guys back. And I think they're talking about, when I interviewed Chris on my channel, he said maybe, like, okay, maybe we, like, the portion, we can give like a portion of the drip back, and like
Mm-hmm.
it's going to send to the tax vault or something like that. But I think, like, maybe if we did it ourselves, like, I think we need more integration of drip and like real life use cases. And
Mm-hmm.
I know it's a broad answer, but I think that's probably because that's like, we keep talking about utilities, and that's, one of the utilities that may be, um yeah.
No, I think
It's
that's
a tough
good, especially off the
question.
cuff. Yeah, to kind of think through that
Yeah,
if you hadn't thought about it just yet.
yeah,
Like, what else
yeah.
could we add to the protocol to
What
elevate it? Yeah.
Like, I think there are a lot of things that have been like verbalized already, but they, so like, of course, like some sort of gambling, right? Like with either a DDD or Scratchy, but like, yeah, that would be utility. But maybe like, okay, so super chat, they're talking like, so that the like content creators, right, could be paid through drip, like we've talked about it, or
Mm-hmm.
talked
I like
about,
that.
yeah, a while ago there was, I think, a partnership that fell through with the, some sort of the, I think it was like in South America, there was some sort of a company that drip was supposed to partner and pay influencers, so that influencers would be paid in drip, something like that. But I think basically anything would help at this point. Anything would help.
Mm-hmm.
Any use case would help.
Agreed. Agreed. Lavelle, does that answer your question? I miss him. Lavelle, you still there?
I think he's
Yep,
muted.
that helps. That was spot on.
Okay, fantastic. Hey, good to see you every week, man. I appreciate your support. I really
Hey,
do.
hey, appreciate the spaces.
Right on. Okay. All right, CPG, I think that's it. I think
Okay.
that's it. I think that's it. Let me just go through it one more time.
I think you
Make sure
said
we're
Susie
good.
will say something.
Susie, yes, there it is. Susie, you still there?
Hey, I'm here. How are you guys? I missed you.
Hey, the party can get started. You
Hi.
made it. We were just waiting on you. Let's
Hi,
go.
Susie.
I've been sick. That's why
Oh,
I've been missing the spaces.
Sorry to hear that.
But no, it's okay. It's just a little stomach thing. But I just wanted to. You all been so kind to me, and today you say so many beautiful things about me, and I wanted to thank you and thank for all the love you always give me, and to say that information and educate and be educated uh, it's a very essential thing in this space. Being a woman, being a man, to invest, you need to learn first. You need to educate yourself, and it's only your responsibility to do that. And
yeah,
you have all these wonderful people that are willing to help you unconditionally and without so much love in here, like all the people that are here,
Mm-hmm.
and the ladies of the faucet, the Lady Mania, and all of you. But as Forrest says, you have to be willing to educate yourself.
1,000%.
It's not, yeah, that is not, nobody can do that for you.
Nope.
That you have to be willing to do it.
And you need to because it's your money. I mean, come on, guys.
Exactly,
It is your money. Don't you want to
exactly.
understand what you're investing in? This isn't a financial planner sitting across a kitchen table explaining what your investment options are. And you fill out the forms and you write them a check and they leave with everything in an envelope and do everything for you once they get back to the office. This
Yeah,
isn't that. Like, this is hands on. And because it's hands on, you need to roll up your sleeves and understand what you're investing in. And the only way you do that is through self awareness and self educating. but then also plugging into a community as well. Because guess what? You're not going to have all the answers. You're just not. And you're not going to be able to understand the information as you read it or as you hear it. And so you're going to have to be a part of a community that allows you to ask a question as many times as it takes for you to
Exactly.
comprehend it, for you then to get understanding, right? So you have to, because it's your money. Right? It's DeFi, and we're so early. These processes aren't sophisticated. They're just not. Like, they're evolving. Probably 10, 15, 20 years from now, it's going to be pretty simple. But right now, it's not. And we should be thanking our lucky stars that we are so early, because it's a massive opportunity for the 1 or 2% of us that are in DeFi right now. We're that early, right?
Yes.
And it's painful. It is. It's painful. It's
Yes.
uncomfortable. It's forcing you to kind of dig in and be patient with the process, because we're so used to so many things being so automated, and you hit a couple of buttons and it just works. Well, this isn't that, man. Not right now. It really isn't. Like, you got to figure this stuff out. And oh, by the way, it's going to be some painful lessons, AKA you're going to lose some money, but count it as a, you know, what is it? It's par for the course, for lack of a better word, because it's the type of education that forces you to take these painful learning experiences so you know not what to do going forward. It's like, hey, I kind of gave somebody my keys and I lost all of my crypto. I won't do that again.
Mm.
Or I sent someone an address and I didn't check the address completely and I lost my money. I won't do that again. Or I invested, $1,000 in a protocol that says it was going to pay me 100% every day. Maybe next time I don't invest $1,000. Perhaps I invest 10 and kind of figure it out. Like, all of these lessons are necessary for you to become smarter for years to come, right? So, what do they say? It's not the destination, but it's, what do they say? It's like the journey, the
It's the
process.
journey.
Yeah, like, it's hard to believe and comprehend that, because I want to go from A to Z like within a blink of an eye, but I got to get to B first, and I got to get to C, and it kind of sucks some days, but it's part of the process.
Yeah, and it's a learning curve, and of course the other issue is that, like you mentioned, the space constantly evolves. So whatever was maybe appropriate a year ago might not work now. So you kind of have to constantly learn, constantly.
1,000%. Well, all I got to say is, it's been my humble desire and, like, my deep appreciation that I've got you on the call, because I already knew you were going to have fresh perspective, just again, based on your profession. And sometimes people need to hear it differently. And for me, I just wanted people to understand, while we're really not a cult, but we found a product that we really believe in, and we're just going to trust the process. And part of that is based on our experience. It's based on our own self-evaluation. It's based on the community and everything that people are doing, which is why we're committing to the drip ecosystem. And no, we're not this cult. We're just a massive community, not a cult. We're a community,
No,
and we will commit, and we will continue to support each other. Right?
yes, absolutely. And again, thank you so much, Kryptonite slash Drip to Wealth, for inviting me. Thank you for all your efforts. And, thank you personally for being very supportive, for one of the people who has been very supportive of me, as a guardian, as a fellow guardian, as a fellow Mega Lives guest. Um, I shout out to you for everything that you have been doing, including Twitter Spaces. So thank you so much for inviting me. It was my pleasure. It was my honor. And I am, even though I'm a crypto professor girl, I am a student. I'm a student, and all of us are students, and we are trying to learn from each other. So that's it.
Love it. That's a sound. How we do it. I appreciate everyone hanging in there. We're right at about 2 hours. That seems to be our normal timeline. I don't care. I don't care. I really don't. Maybe we'll go and kind of chop it up going forward, but I don't care. You just got to produce the content and save it out there. And as we get a little more sophisticated, right, the word evolving, then we'll make sound bites and edit it. But right now, this is raw, uncut. You're just getting it the way it should be delivered. All right. So with that said, I wish everybody peace and prosperity. Until then, I want everyone to stay hydrated. All right. Everyone take care.
Okay, thank you so much. Okay, bye-bye, guys.
Bye.
Lavelle, thanks again. Susie, Wonder Woman, Crypto Mark,
Bye.
Lady Mania, Mike, Ant Girl, Sleepy, I see ya. Gotta clear my throat. Crypto Bag Trav, I see ya. Deontay, welcome to the call, my friend. West Side, Nino Brown. Who else we got? Moonshot. Who's this one? Is it, how do you pronounce that? LJ Defi, welcome to the call. Thanks for hanging in there with us. Emmett, appreciate you, my friend. Good to see you. Who else we got? Dun, dun, dun. Is it Robbie R Crypto? Thanks for hanging in there. And Perlis Crypto, I see you. Lady Dripper, I appreciate everyone hanging in there. All right, I hope I got everyone. If I missed the roll call, give me a thumbs up. If I did not, shout out your name, because I want you to feel like a rock star tonight. Did I get everyone? Okay, perfect. All right. Looks like Andrew just joined us late. Andrew, you'll listen to the recording. All right. Appreciate you tapping in. All right, CPG, you're a rock star. Have a good night, and we'll talk soon.
Thank you. Okay, talk to you soon too.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Okay, bye-bye.